welcome to this episode of Round Robin. I'm your host, Robin McCormick with the City of Hampton, and we're going to talk about one of Hampton's assets today that isn't really connected to the government, but does work with the city in a partnership effort. I have with us Bill Mullis. Welcome, Bill. You're with Langley Speedway.
Yes, I am. Thank you.
And you're here officially because you received an honor from the city as one of our diversity awards for the year. Do you want to tell me a little bit about what program that is and what your involvement was?
Well, our program at the Speedway was really through NASCAR's Drive for Diversity, and it's the racing industry's initiative to put minorities and females into racing opportunities. And it's not just as a driver, it's also as crew members on some of the crews. And these kids, they go throughout the country and even Mexico, and they'll pick out driver talent, but kids that probably don't have the path open to the big time, which would be on a cup racing team, like for Joe Gibbs or Jack Roush or somebody big, and the big name stuff. And what this does, when they get into the diversity program, when they're accepted, it's really a huge deal for them because it opens doors to go straight into major cup racing teams. And you know, just in Richmond, Langley Speedway had a car in the Blue Ox 100, the K&N race up there recently, and Kyle Larson from California was driving the car, but he's already been signed as a development driver for Earnhardt Ganassi Racing. So that's like a dream come true for these young kids, you know, minority and opportunity there. And it's one of NASCAR. Now, a lot of people don't know it. I think it's one of the hidden secrets in weekly racing. It's actually one of NASCAR's largest corporate incentives is backing the diversity program. And the program, it's really cool how it came about. It was developed by Max Siegel. And Max Siegel, it's been a real opportunity for me to work with Max Siegel and now become one of, I guess, his friends, because Max Siegel is a really unbelievably smart individual. And he's an attorney, he's a record producer, he's an author. Oh, wow. And he's many things. And Max was with Sony Records, and he was also president of the Zamba gospel label. And Max Siegel, just to name a few people, he signed people like Justin Timberlake, Usher, and Britney Spears. And during his tenure with Sony, he produced more #1 hits and gold and platinum records than any time in Sony's record business. So he's one of the most sought after executives in the country. But Max ran DEI International, which was Dale Earnhardt Sr.'s racing operation. He ran the worldwide operation, and he was in charge of every segment. So Max became really, he had he had reached a level in racing that was higher than any African American had ever accomplished in this country. And when Dale Earnhardt got lost in the wreck, we lost him. He kind of took a step back and he looked at the big picture. And of course, the empire that was what he was running was falling apart. And he thought that he would back up and start Revolution Racing. So Max Siegel is the owner of Revolution Racing, the race team, and he gets support from NASCAR and other sponsors, but it's really his dream and his idea about Revolution Racing and Drive for Diversity. So it took a genius to put it together, and it's been in place for a pretty good while, since 2004, and it truly has been successful, opening huge doors of opportunities for a lot of minority drivers and females in racing. Well,
that's really interesting. And forgive me, I don't know a lot about auto racing, either in NASCAR or on the local level. But is it almost like there's a little bit of a farm team or a minor league team that you guys have? No, maybe not team affiliation, but it's part of that experience of bringing up people who then may graduate to the big leagues.
Yes, it is. And a lot of people don't understand NASCAR overall. They think NASCAR is just cup racing that they see on Saturday night on TV, or the Craftsman trucks, or the Nationwide Series. They look at those top 3 levels of racing. But when you drop down below that, you get into modified racing in the K&N Series. The K&N Series is really one of the series, it's like the farm team, so to speak. When you're in a K&N race car, you're really trying to get a cup ride, or a truck ride, or a nationwide ride, and that's kind of the farm team. And they have a K&N E-Series, and a K&N West Series. Now, Langley Speedway sponsors and will have a K&N East race in June at our racetrack. So that's a really big deal. This will be the second one there in the history of Langley this year.
Oh, wow.
And they have they have the NASCAR Whelen Modified Series, and they have the NASCAR Whelen Southern Modified Series. And the Southern Modified Series got a little bit famous with the TV show that was on Discovery Channel for a little while, Madhouse, because that featured really the Southern Modified drivers and a lot of what was happening at Bowman Gray Stadium, a real well-known racetrack in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, where it actually belongs to a college, and they race around a football field.
Oh my gosh.
So it's really cool stuff. And then when you come below K&N and your modified touring series, a lot of people say, well, how is Langley Speedway NASCAR sanctioned? NASCAR has a weekly racing series that's been around for 30 years. And this is its 31st year this year. But that NASCAR weekly racing series has 5 tiers of competitors, and our drivers at Langley Speedway, depending on what tier they're in, they compete for national points all across the country. So if you go to Tier 1 NASCAR, that's our late model guys at Langley Speedway, and you'll take people like C.E. Falk has finished in the top 5. Right now he's 3rd in the country. So you can go on NASCARHometracks.com and look at the local competitors and see where they are on a national basis. Last spring, Tommy Nixon from Virginia Beach, that was racing at Langley Speedway in our truck division, was leading Tier 5 national points. So Tommy thought, gee, I never thought it would happen to me. I never thought anybody knew we existed. But NASCAR knows more about their home track programs and who's racing there than our drivers really realize. You know, everybody thinks nobody knows my name and nobody's watching, but it's really not true. NASCAR does go from cup racing right on down to your local short tracks on Saturday night. And one thing cool about Langley Speedway, it is this country's longest sanctioned NASCAR track today.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
They'll say Bowman Gray is, but Bowman Gray actually closed and reopened one time. But Langley Speedway with 62 years has been there longer than Daytona.
Oh my gosh.
So.
Well, it talks really about the grassroots of the popularity of this sport.
And Langley is also Virginia, the state's longest continually operated sports facility. And that's another secret inside of Hampton that a lot of people don't know.
No, I didn't know that at all. In fact, I just didn't realize it went back that far. And car racing is one of these things that has become a phenomenon more recently. Like there was always a certain devoted group. And this also, I think, gets to the diversity piece of it a little bit.
Right.
But it has become, one of the top watched sports. And it has attracted, it used to be, you would think there's a certain audience for NASCAR and for auto racing, but it has really broadened out now. I know a lot of people, women, who are fans,
yes.
And have been actually for a while.
Yes, and I'm president. One of the secrets at Langley is Hampton Roads Kart Club. We've been racing karts out there with kids for 41 years, and we have a huge explosion of female drivers and diversity in the kart club now, and that shows a lot of interest. I mean, we've got 14-year-old girls out there winning races, and we actually start kids racing at Langley at 5 years old in the kart club. There's a kids division where they have little teeny karts with little teeny motors, and it's really cool. And but it's for 5 to 7-year-olds. For the kart club, really covers racing from 5 years old to 70 years old, right in the kart club. So that's another part of Langley that nobody knows about is really our development program with the kart racing through Hampton Roads Kart Club, and it gives children of all ages and levels an opportunity to get into racing, and a lot of those racers end up moving up into the speedway, and even some of them became cup racers. Ricky Rudd raced with Hampton Roads Kart Club. Jeff and Ward,
really?
Yes.
That's a name. Even I know that name.
And Jeff and Ward Burton both raced in Hampton Roads Kart Club. They used to come down here and race, and they interviewed Jeff Burton in California a couple of years ago, and I was really excited being president of Hampton Roads Kart Club. They said, where'd you start racing? And he said, with the kart club at Langley Speedway. And I thought, man, it's amazing. We really have bred some talent there, and it is pretty cool stuff, So there's a lot that goes on I think people don't see. but it's very family oriented. And if you can imagine being president of the kart club, if anybody's been involved with Little League teams, it's like having 125 Little League teams on a Sunday.
With motors, I'm sorry. At least, they can only do so much when they're running around a field.
But the granddads are involved, and the moms and dads are in the pits, and it becomes a family sport. And me and my daughter did a lot of kart racing together. That's how we got involved out there, and we won championships in a lot of races. And, I didn't... I tell everybody at Langley, I didn't really just parachute in here out of a helicopter. When they needed help with the track, they found me in the pits because I was a hobbyist racer at Langley myself.
So you were a hobbyist out there for years.
Yes.
And then how did you become the owner? At what point did that, about 4 years ago?
Yeah. I raced at Langley, South Hampton Motor Speedway, which is up on the other side of Franklin in Cape Ron, Virginia. It's closed now. And Southside Speedway in Richmond. And I had been involved with the kart club for a long time. Larry Waltrip out in Williamsburg ran Hampton Roads Kart Club and was president, and I was Larry's vice president. And then when Larry expanded his mulch business and stepped back, I took over the presidency at the kart club. And of course, it's elected by the members. And I've been the president, I think it's 8 years now. It's been a pretty good while. So I've been with the kart club probably 13, 14 years. And really, that was my administrative tie to the ownership in Langley, the fact that I was the only person that had all the keys to the facility, and I could come unlock it on Sunday and run my own race venue. So I was always connected to ownership at the track through being president of the kart club. And when things were getting rough out there and finances were hard, the economy hit the racetrack really hard.
Oh, I bet. It's discretionary and it's...
And the ownership, they just found themselves a little bit run dry and didn't know exactly where to turn. They offered it to me, and really I committed to take Langley as much for the go-kart club as I did for the Saturday night racers. So I had like a dual role. I wanted to see it continue for Saturday night for all the late model guys, Mark Wirtz, Danny and Greg Edwards, Casey White, all these great local race names, C.E. Falk, the Shiplets that run out there. There's just a lot of great people racing at Langley Speedway. And that was one level of commitment, but the other level of commitment was really what I say is the untold story about the kids on Sunday.
That's great. See, I'm completely unfamiliar with that. So that's a very nice story. But now on your Saturday night crowds, your season runs from...
My season runs from the first weekend in April, usually right to the end of October.
And you race almost every Saturday out there?
We race every Saturday except for when NASCAR is in Richmond.
Right.
A lot of our racers and fans like to go to Richmond.
Sure.
And we've been part of the Denny Hamlin Foundation race. We actually ran it for Denny at Southside Speedway because Southside wasn't NASCAR sanctioned, and we had that late model sanction at Langley. So we'd actually take our equipment and our tech team to Southside Speedway, and then Denny's race got moved to Richmond International with the K&N night the last 2 years, but we actually there was 5 of my staff up there running the tech for the Hamlin race in Richmond, and we were really proud because of Greg Edwards and that Gloucester-based Randy Sears 34 car. He finished second in that Hamlin race, and he finished behind Tony Stewart. So, we told Greg, when the only guy that beats you is Tony Stewart, it's not bad. And I think Greg made a comment like that in the newspaper. But we've had a really good showing up there. C.E. Falk won that race 3 years ago at Southside, and he pushed according to who you talk to, Hamlin says he knocked him out of the way, and C.E. said he gave Denny a love tap. But C.E. got by Denny on the last lap up there at Southside and stole that race, and Tony Stewart finished behind C.E. that day, and there was 15 Cup drivers in the race. So it's been pretty exciting stuff for me, and being involved with the NASCAR family. I've been well accepted down in Daytona, and they've been very good to Langley Speedway. NASCAR and Langley Speedway are very connected these days.
Well, and auto racing at NASCAR and the local track, you do a lot for the community. You have fundraisers, you have benefits, there's a lot of give back there that I've seen. Yeah,
there's a lot of stuff that goes on there. I mean, we host get-togethers for businesses sometimes on Wednesday night. We have a little eatery back in the back, a little kitchen back there, a little bar area that's really nice, and that we're having a military appreciation night this coming Saturday where all 5 branches of the military is going to be recognized, and that's sponsored by Daily Press and Chamber of Commerce. So it's really big stuff. And Jim Hicks, he runs a fan club out there, and we call it the Fan Club.
I've heard of that, yeah.
And every Saturday night they'll do a 50-50 raffle, and they'll raise money for any type of cause in Hampton Roads. It can be a family who's the lady. There's one lady in Gloucester now that's a cancer victim. We raised money for people when we had the bad storm that ripped through here, the tornadoes that went through Gloucester and Deltaville and up in Pulaski. So Jim Hicks has always got people coming to him with a need, and he's always finding a way to help them, and it's real cool stuff. And Jim Hicks built a brand new fan club building. It's right inside our main entry on the left. So if anybody comes to Langley, stop in there and check out the fan club and get involved.
That's great. So Bill, if you would just for a second speak to people who haven't been out there before and tell them why they should come, what they'll see on a Saturday night.
Well, a lot of people aren't into racing. You know, it's becoming a computer era time, but I always tell people that like cars, if you like cars, it's $10 to get in, and there's always something worth seeing for $10. And that's how I sell it. And but it truly is. It's really exciting. We've over doubled the fan base on Saturday night since I've been there in the last 3 years. And
that's
this is
pretty exciting.
Yeah, it really is exciting. And a lot of that's due to Chuck Hall, my promoter. He used to be at the track. Y'all know he had the 1490 radio station here. And he knows a lot of people, and he really knows what he's doing out there. And Chuck has been my partner in business that really helped me kind of bring the place up. And I've got great officials there. We were ranked as the second-rated short track in the United States last year by NASCAR, and that's a big honor. They know who's there, they know what's going on, but we run a very proficient show. It's excellent racing, and there's fantastic talent at Langley Speedway on Saturday night. And if you haven't been out there, you really need to take the time and come out and check it out and see what you think, because most people leave there thinking, this is pretty cool, and our fan base is growing. So it's been good stuff. And we have a Wednesday night streetcar show called Wacky Wednesday, where you can bring a streetcar. Of course, they have to have safety equipment, a helmet.
Right.
And they'll do a time attack, and they get awarded on 2 of the fastest laps around the track. And whoever's the most consistent with the 2 laps will get scored in certain awards. And then we set up cones, and it's actually drag racing around the oval. So it can be pretty interesting. And a lot of children, a lot of college kids, a lot of high school kids are coming out to Wacky Wednesday, and it's really big. Chuck and Wayne started it years ago, but the show has gotten huge now, and it's not unusual to have 70 cars in the event.
Oh my gosh.
And nearly 1,000 people in the stands on Wednesday night if the weather's pretty.
And how many people in the stands on Saturdays?
Oh, it's not unusual to have, 2,000 to 3,000 out there, and if you encompass everybody in the pits, there's quite a few cars in the pits. We usually average between 85 to 100 race cars on a night that's registered in the different divisions. And between all the support people and the people in the stands, on Saturday night, that place takes on a new shape of its own.
I bet
pretty
it
cool.
does.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, Bill, thank you for coming by today, and congratulations again on the award from the Unity Commission and the diversity effort that you're doing, as well as the general entertainment out there on Saturdays, on Wednesdays, on Sundays. You do a lot for the community and for the auto racing fans.
Well, thank you for having me, and I just want to say this. We're very fortunate to be in the city of Hampton. There's a lot of racetracks throughout the country that don't have recognition or proper support from the city, but Hampton truly recognized Langley Speedway for what it is, and it's great that I'm very fortunate as a track owner that track is laying inside of Hampton city limits. And I want to thank Molly Ward and all her staff with the city of Hampton for running such a great city and doing such a great job.
Well, great. Thank you, Bill. Thank you for stopping by, and I look forward to seeing you out at the track one of these days. I haven't made it yet, but I hope to.
I'm going to bring you out. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching this episode of Round Robin. I hope you'll come back.